Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Bible in a Year. My name is Natalie, and today we are on day 360. I am so happy that you're here today. Welcome to the channel. We are going to be reading out of 2 Chronicles chapter 31, Zechariah chapter 13, and then we're going to close out our day with John chapter 19, but only verses 1 through 16 today. So let's get started. 2 Chronicles chapter 31. We are starting to wind down our Bible in a year. This is so exciting. I think we have, including this day, six readings left. Oh, here we go. 2 Chronicles chapter 31. Okay, now, when all this was finished, all Israel who were present went out to the cities of Judah and broke the pillars in pieces, cut down the Asherah poles, and broke down the high places and the altars out of all Judah and Benjamin, also in Ephraim and Manasseh, until they had destroyed them all. Then all the children of Israel returned, every man to his possession, into their own cities. Hezekiah appointed the divisions of the priests and the Levites after their divisions, every man according to his service, both the priests and the Levites, for burnt offerings and for peace offerings to minister, to give thanks, and to praise in the gates of Yahweh's camp. He also appointed the king's portion of his possessions for the burnt offerings, for the morning and evening burnt offerings, and the burnt offerings for the Sabbaths, for the new moons, and for the set feasts, as it is written in Yahweh's law. Moreover, he commanded the people who lived in Jerusalem to give the portion of the priests and the Levites, that they might give themselves to Yahweh's law. As soon as the commandment went out, the children of Israel gave in abundance the first fruits of grain, new wine, oil, honey, and of all the increase of the field. And they brought in the tithe of all things abundantly. The children of Israel and Judah, who lived in the cities of Judah, also brought in the tithe of cattle and sheep, and the tithe of dedicated things, which were consecrated to Yahweh their God, and laid them in heaps. In the 3rd month, they began to lay the foundation of the heaps and build them in the 7th month. When Hezekiah and the princes came and saw the heaps, they blessed Yahweh and his people Israel. Then Hezekiah questioned the priests and the Levites about the heaps. Azariah, the chief priest of the house of Zadok, answered him and said, "Since people began to bring the offerings into Yahweh's house, we have eaten and had enough, and have plenty left over. For Yahweh has blessed his people, and that which is left is this great store." Then Hezekiah commanded them to prepare rooms in Yahweh's house, and they prepared them. They brought in the offerings, the tithes, and the dedicated things faithfully. Conaniah the Levite was ruler over them, and Shimei his brother was second. Jehiel, Azaziah, Nahath, Ashel, Jeremoth, Jozabad, Eliel, Ismachiah, Mahath, and Benaniah were overseers under the hand of Conaniah and Shemiel his brother, by the appointment of Hezekiah the king of Azariah, the ruler of God's house. Kor, the son of Imnah, the Levite, the gatekeeper at the east gate, was over the free will offerings of God, to distribute Yahweh's offerings and the most holy things. Under him were Eden, Miniamin, Jeshua, Shemaiah, Amariah, and Shechaniah, in the cities of the priests, in their office of trust, to give to their brothers by divisions, to the great as well as to the small. in addition to those who were listed by genealogy of males, from 3 years old and upward, even everyone who entered into Yahweh's house as the duty of every day required, for their service in their offices according to their divisions, and those who were listed by genealogy of the priests by their fathers' houses, and the Levites from 20 years old and upward in their offices by their divisions, and those who were listed by genealogy of all their little ones, their wives, their sons, and their daughters, through all the congregation, for in their office of trust they sanctified themselves in holiness. Also, for the sons of Aaron the priests, who were in the fields of the pasture lands of their cities, in every city there were men who were mentioned by name to give portions to all the males among the priests and to all who were listed by genealogy among the Levites. Hezekiah did so throughout all Judah, and he did that which was good, right, and faithful before Yahweh his God. In every work that he began in the service of God's house, in the law, and in the commandments to seek his God, he did it with all his heart and prospered. I have so wanted to be like that in my life. Whatever I do, with all my heart, just put it all out there before the Lord. I've done it every now and again, but I have not done it all my life. But what do I always say? We just get up and keep trying. Every day is a new day. Every afternoon is a new afternoon. Every time in the day, there's a new chance to start over and reboot. Let the past be the past and move on forward. All right, Zechariah chapter 13. In that day, there will be a fountain opened to David's house and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem for sin and for uncleanness. It will come to pass in that day, says Yahweh of armies, that I will cut off the names of the idols out of the land, and they will be remembered no more. I will also cause the prophets and the spirit of impurity to pass out of the land. It will happen that when anyone still prophesies, then his father and his mother who bore him will tell him, "You must die, because you speak lies in Yahweh's name." And his father and his mother who bore him will stab him when he prophesies. It will happen in that day that the prophets will each be ashamed of his vision when he prophesies, that they won't wear a hairy mantle to deceive. But he will say, "I am no prophet. I am a tiller for the ground, for I have been made a bondservant from my youth." One will say to him, "What are these wounds between your arms?" And then he will answer, "Those with which I was wounded in the house of my friends." Awake, sword, against my shepherd, and against the man who is close to me, says Yahweh of armies. Strike the shepherd, and the sheep will be scattered, and I will turn my hand against the little ones. It shall happen that in all the land, says Yahweh, 2 parts in it will be cut off and die, but the third will be left in it. I will bring the third part into the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will test them like gold is tested. They will call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, "It is my people," and they will say, "Yahweh is my God." Okay, moving into John chapter 19, verses 1 through 16. Oh boy. So Pilate then took Jesus and flogged him. The soldiers twisted thorns into a crown and put it on his head. and dressed him in a purple garment. They kept saying, "Hail, King of the Jews!" and they kept slapping him. Then Pilate went out again and said to them, "Behold, I bring him out to you, that you may know that I find no basis for a charge against him." Jesus therefore came out wearing the crown of thorns and the purple garment. Pilate said to them, "Behold the man." When therefore the chief priests and the officers saw him, they shouted, saying, "Crucify, crucify." And Pilate said to them, "Take him yourselves and crucify him, for I find no basis for a charge against him." The Jews answered him, "We have a law, and by our law he ought to die, because he made himself the Son of God." When therefore Pilate heard this saying, he was more afraid. He entered into the praetorium again and said to Jesus, "Where are you from?" But Jesus gave him no answer. And Pilate therefore said to him, "Aren't you speaking to me? Don't you know that I have power to release you and to have power to crucify you?" And Jesus answered, "You would have no power at all against me, unless it were given to you from above. Therefore, he who delivered me into you has greater sin." At this, Pilate was seeking to release him, but the Jews cried out, saying, "If you release this man, you aren't Caesar's friend. Everyone who makes himself a king speaks against Caesar." When Pilate therefore heard these words, he brought Jesus out and sat down on the judgment seat at a place called the Pavement, but in Hebrew, Gabbatha. Now it was the preparation day of the Passover, at about the 6th hour. He said to the Jews, "Behold your king." They cried out, "Away with him, away with him, crucify him." And Pilate said to them, "Shall I crucify your king?" And the chief priests answered, "We have no king but Caesar." So then he delivered him to them to be crucified. So they took Jesus and led him away. We will finish that tomorrow. And while that is such a mortifying scene, if you have been following this channel, you'll hear me often say, "Oh, I wish I could be a fly on the wall to watch everything. I won't say a word, I'll just watch it." Oh, to be a fly on the wall and watch that whole scene. Pilate is really trying to get out of this. He really does not want to take part in this. And the only way for the church to get Pilate to do what the church wants them to do is to appeal to his political senses. They say, "If you don't crucify him, you're no friend of Caesar." They completely changed their argument to Pilate. And I will suggest it hasn't changed much in 2023. Thank you for stopping by today. I'm sorry I get so heavy sometimes, but I can just feel it just stirring up inside of me, and I can't stay quiet sometimes. So just words that I'm saying to think about the words that we read and come to your own conclusion. Don't take my word for it, please. Come to your own conclusions. Have a talk with God. What do these words mean? Please help me understand these words so that I can live life properly while I'm here on earth. Okay, so please come on back for tomorrow, which will be day 361. Have the most wonderful day today, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.